I think that current model subscriptions are a no-brainer. $200 a month for whichever is planned on Anthropic is a steal compared to what you're getting out of it. When I say what you get out of it, I don't mean in terms of tokens or stuff like that, kind of how much value you get back. And I don't think that I ever said that $200 a month on a company level per person or individual level is a steal. I don't think I ever said that. Yeah, but I'm saying it now. It's cheap.
This is DevOps Paradox, episode number 319, AI-powered infrastructure, beyond hype to reality. Welcome to DevOps Paradox. This is a podcast about random stuff in which we, Darren and Victor, pretend we know what we're talking about. Most of the time, we mask our ignorance by putting the word DevOps everywhere we can and mix it with random buzzwords like Kubernetes, serverless, CI/CD, team productivity, islands of happiness, and other fancy expressions that make us sound like we know what we're doing. Occasionally, we invite guests who do know something, but we do not do that often since they might make us look incompetent. The truth is out there, and there is no way we are going to find it. P.S. It's Darren reading this text and feeling embarrassed that Victor made me do it. Here are your hosts, Darren Pope and Victor Farsick. Well, now that HashiCorp's been rolled into IBM, we still have Pulumi and other companies existing. When is the hype cycle going to move towards reality for AI-driven all the things infrastructure?
Just judging by the speed everything is moving, probably very soon. It cannot take long, right? If a year ago we hardly had any use of AI in any form of way, now all of a sudden everybody's using it in some capacity or another. I can only speculate that for infrastructure or anything else, that will be the next wave, right? Because right now, you can think of it as two waves of AI so far, right? Very generic one, like ChatGPTs of the world. Like, hey, you just go there and you ask it a question or ask it to do something and it does something, and it's equally capable or incapable for everything and nothing. And then with Anthropic and few others that followed, we see a more specialization. Okay, so yeah, those models and those tools, they can still do anything you want, but they're slightly more specialized in software engineering, right? Can you use Cloud Code outside of software engineering? Of course. But the focus is software engineering, right? And then what must be coming after that is more specialization, right? Okay. But now this system is actually even better for only application developers. And this something is better than whatever we had before for managing infrastructure. Another one for database, security, and so on and so forth, right? We will see specialized AI. I'm intentionally saying AI without using the words like agents or this or that, just because we don't know the exact form that will be. That will be more capable in specific areas. And then we will start connecting those more capable ones into some sort of a mesh.
Wait, you're co-opting the word mesh now for AI?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there will be agent. I think that there is already the term agent mesh or AI. Anyway, if I'm the first one who said mesh in context of AI, which I sincerely doubt, then please let me know. I will license it. AI mesh.
What do you think the real current state is? I mean, at the time of recording, AWS has just released their MCP server. Or it's called Control something API. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But, you know, whether it's good or bad, don't know, haven't played with it yet. I mean, everything's still early.
Right now, I'm less concerned about something like being released by AWS because AWS is public knowledge. And that means that models are already pretty capable with AWS. And AWS itself can make it even more capable and better and so on and so forth. Amazing, right? But The areas that are more interesting to me are others, kind of like, okay, but where is all the private data? Where is all the knowledge that we accumulated, and so on and so forth, right? So I think that the big missing piece is not public knowledge and making AI or models or agents better based on everything that exists in public. It will continue being better, but that's not a big deal. Now it's more about, hey, how do we create workflows, for example? Not many, I don't know many that work on workflows, for example. And when I say workflows, I mean workflow between a human and AI. Here's a silly example, right? If you go right now to any of the solutions I'm aware of, excluding the one you mentioned for AWS, because it's something that was released just now. I don't know it. I haven't tried it. But you go to any solution right now and you say, give me a database. You'll get it. Because there is no workflow. It's just trying to please you. What we need to build is some kind of workflow that will insist on getting additional information from you, squeezing it out from you. In a similar way, like good consultants or professional services operate, and I intentionally say good because many don't. You know, when you go and visit a customer and customer says, I need this. And you have two options. One is to do it. That's how models, agents operate right now. But the good consultant would say, okay, wait a minute. Let's spend the day whiteboarding it and talking about and trying to figure out. Maybe you have no idea what you need. And that's something I don't see right now from the solutions. And I think it's one of the big stumbling blocks because then people get wrong results, wrong outputs, and they're not happy. And I wouldn't be happy either. You know, if I come and say, Darin, I need this, and you just don't ask me anything, any follow-up questions, you just do it for me, and then it turns out that I have no idea what I'm looking for, I will be disappointed.
That's the thing I've realized as well. I wish the default would be the opposite. I wish it would keep asking questions until I say, no, you've got it. Go ahead and go. Because I have to tell it, what else do you need to know? Right? Ask me whatever the questions you need. And the times that I forget to include that after prompting, it's like, well, duh, I didn't want you to do that yet. Give me a few more minutes. Like, let's talk about it a little bit more.
You know, it's all-knowing thing. So you ask for it. I have all the information in the world. I can give it to you. It's your problem that you're a dummy for asking a dummy thing. That's what it's doing right now. And that's what many people in services are doing as well. Wrongly.
Where do you think the hype is right now? Where do you think the real hype is? What do you think the vendors are wanting people to believe?
What vendors want people to believe is just ridiculous. It's so much silly marketing, kind of. Every single new model is going to change the world. A good example is recent. At the time we are recording, not necessarily the time you are listening to this, release of GPT-5. Is it better than others? Yeah, probably. Is it significantly? No, it's not. And it's normal because models are being released every week. Every next one is probably potentially better than the previous one and so on and so forth. But the marketing is kind of, this changes everything. And then it's given to influencers, you know, who get access before it's even released. And then they, of course, kind of handpicked and everybody, yeah, this changes everything. It's overhyped. It's hard to explain. It's AI, I think it's underhyped and overhyped at the same time. Expectations are overhyped, but understanding of what we can get from it is underhyped. I feel that people are still not aware how much they can get from it.
That's my question, I guess, stated differently is, you know, what are the realities today versus the marketing claims that are being thrown out at us?
Realities is that there is a very limited number of people to begin with that are proficient with it. And when I say proficient, I don't mean data scientists. That, of course, is in a huge demand, right? Not from the perspective of, hey, I can create even better model. I'm talking about from the user perspective. There is a huge demand and very small number of people that actually know what's going on, right? Now, of course, if you ask people around, oh yeah, I'm very proficient with AI, I'm using Cursor. But when you dig a bit deeper, do you really are you really understanding how prompt engineering works? Have you worked with vector databases? Have you worked with graph databases? Have you created your own agents? And so on and so forth. Then we are almost at nowhere, right? Zero, ground zero, which is normal because this is all new. But it's also something that prevents companies to see the real benefits, right? Because, imagine this, right? If I tell you, hey, Darren, you should move from on-prem to AWS, and I show you S3 buckets, and that's where it ends. Is it beneficial for you to have S3 buckets in AWS? Well, maybe not. I don't know. Right? Is that really what should hook you in and give you confidence that AWS is the right thing? No. There's much more to it than S3 buckets. Right? Same thing with AI today.
What are those foundation pieces? I mean, you went there. S3 is a foundational piece for anything running in AWS today. What are the foundational pieces that we're going to need that are real today that we should be thinking about?
There are foundational pieces on individual level and organizational level, right? On individual level, the easy low-hanging fruit is get really familiar with writing prompts, spend time with it. It makes a huge difference, but that's something that everybody knows more or less, right? Start creating your own agents now, and then we're talking. That's a real deal. Okay, you have your own agent that actually does something. That will be your CV, by the way, right? I think that people will be judged in the future on interviews, how capable they are on doing something by bringing their own agents. But that's still relatively easy. The real challenge is more organizational level because that's much bigger scale. That's when we start thinking about, okay, so how do we actually make this work for 10,000 people? What do we do with all our documentation? What do we do with our Zoom calls? What do we do with, how do we feed AI with information? How do we securely enable people to use that AI, right? And that's not then public AI anymore. That's our own AI. Maybe we start building our own models. That's expensive, but who knows? Maybe a bit of reinforced learning. Now, right on an organizational level, we are getting into something that is not doable in a day or two. Right? It's a huge investment, like massive investment.
If we're not wanting to make that investment, and let's focus specifically on infrastructure right now, and I'm going to have to go ahead and include our laptops, desktops in the infrastructure now. I think that has been left out of the conversation a lot. Used to, we would need, as an engineer, as a developer, give me 64 gig machine, 128 gig machine, all the things that I need to make that work. Lots of disk. Do I even need that anymore?
As an individual or as an organization?
As an individual, okay. As an individual in an organization.
I mean, as an individual, no. I strongly believe with or without AI that we are going into, this is a dumb terminal situation. Everything is a service somewhere. Whether that somewhere is servers in your company or AWS or what's not, it doesn't matter, right? I don't think that, and models are even proving that right. You will see people, hey, I can run this model, I can run that model. But the difference between the capacity of models that can run on a normal hardware, let's say, right? Some MacBook or something that is not, I'm going crazy and I just bought a real server with I don't know how many GPUs and what's not. Models are ridiculously bad if you try to run them, right? At serious tasks. At silly tasks, they're good. So I think that's only accelerating the move towards this machine is a dumb machine, it's a terminal that accesses services from somewhere else, including AI, where we will need to think about hardware heavily. That's, okay, but on a company level, okay, I need stuff. I need a place to run all that. Imagine when you start creating your own models. Oh, that's going to be tough.
Well, you're going to have a few $100 million, if not billions of dollars, to build your own models ground up.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough, period.
Now, for many people, common models will not be, you're going to be okay, right? But if you're in something like, I don't know, like bioengineering, pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth, they will eventually start building their own models if they're not already. Right? It will be highly specialized.
But again, that's the key point there is highly specialized, which typically equates to higher revenues that can justify the spend.
Yeah. But also the cost will be dropping over time. I mean, we see with the inference costs are dropping constantly, right? So the cost to run models is going down, or at least staying at the same level, and then getting much more out of it. So I don't think that will not be a problem on a long run, but it is a problem now still, nevertheless.
Well, the real problem is people that have figured out how to build a fleet of agents to do work for them 24/7. The model providers don't really like that a whole lot, unless you're actually paying for tokens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not worried about them. The revenues of providers like Anthropic are going at and increasing at insane rates, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, but when you pull back the curtain, just because their revenues are good doesn't mean that their cash outlay each month is that good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be earning too much, right? Because that means that you're not growing too fast enough, right? At least with companies at that stage. Google needs to think, and Amazon, about revenue from that perspective. Even Amazon is still not earning money, really. But revenue one way or another is increasing, right? And inference cost is decreasing. If you look at any graph of the inference cost, it's going down.
Where do you think we're at today in build versus buy?
Depends for what. Like model, you're buying it for sure. Kind of like you need to be very, very special to create your own model, right? And even if you do create your own model, that will be as a addition to an existing model, right? That's kind of the top of the chart. Kind of like don't go there for majority of them. Now, if you're talking about build like for agents, yeah, I think that companies will be building their own agents, 100%. Instead of buying the agents. Now, when I say build, just to be clear, it's like build your own Linux distribution. You're still basing it on top of a kernel, right? On top of something, just to be clear. I'm not saying build, like open a new project in VS Code and literally from scratch. But companies will be building their own agents. So that's that other extreme of compared to models, kind of that's a build for me, clear build.
And that's reality today. Right? It is, I'm going to air quote, it's easy to build an agent compared to 6 months ago.
Depends how you define build an agent. Like agent is a lot of code or not a lot of code. Actually, agents are not that heavy on code, right? It's a code that accepts your input and passes that input to a model. Model responds with instructions what to execute, and then agent executes that and passes that output to the model again, right? So it's back and forth. Here's the output. Tell me what to do next, and so on and so forth, right? So now if I change the system prompt, then yeah, everybody's building agents. If we build, we mean really build agent, that code part. Not many are doing it today, still.
If an organization wanted to get started today on what is the infrastructure pieces that they're going to need, I'm not telling you, I started out the whole episode with HashiCorp and Pulumi and other, and I left out your company names too. I mean, that's one angle. But what is the real infrastructure an organization is going to need? Because I think you've sort of led into it right there with the build versus buy. I think if you want good quality, you're going to go to services for now for model. You're going to be going to services for the Claude codes of the world, the cursors of the world, right? That's where you're going to head. But what other things are we going to need internally to, again, you said we don't need 64 gig laptops anymore.
So let's start with what today is kind of the bucket list for using AI. And not necessarily that you have to use it all, right? You need a model, you need an agent, and you might want to use some MCPs. You might want to have a vector database. You might want to do embeddings, and you might want to do to have some graph database. There are other pieces, but that's right now. You can get very far with model agent, maybe a few MCPs, right? And when I say model agent, I mean public model, public agent, like Cloud Code, few MCPs. I'm not building anything. That's probably a very good first step. And then the companies are going to start thinking, okay, you cannot continue running MCPs on your laptop. We have security concerns. We have other concerns. MCPs need to be in some server, cluster, whatever it is. That's probably the first step that most companies will take. From that, second step. First one was a Cloud Code model, maybe Kubernetes MCP, what's not, right? They will start running it somewhere that will be more secure. Everybody's clients will be connecting to those MCPs. And then they're going to start building custom agents, whether custom means custom prompt or code or both, pending to discuss. And then they will have to figure out where they're running that. And that's starting then to look serious. Okay, we have a number of agents. We have a number of MCPs. They're all hosted somewhere. And after that, and agents are now probably the first thing we are building, just to be clear, right? Kind of like for real. And those agents are sub-agents of Cloud Code, just to be clear, right? You will probably not be using that custom company agent directly, but hey, Cloud Code, I need to do this. Go over there. Kind of like Joe made it for the finance department or what's not, right? And then that's the first build, and from there on, it's a rabbit hole. Databases, what's not.
The storyline you just laid out there was the same storyline we've heard for decades. My parallel to that is I have a local spreadsheet that became an Access database, that became a SQL Server database, that became an exascale database with Oracle.
Correct. The time frame is probably the biggest difference, right? Kind of you were probably running Access once you got it for like 10 years.
Right. And until you moved it off and you needed more because of security. And you brought that up in your point.
Yeah.
We can't run local MCPs anymore. The MCP servers I've been writing, I'm not even running locally. When I build them, they just run externally just because I just don't even want to deal with it. Because that way I'm exercising that part. It's like standard I/O is easy. I need a little bit of hard. And a little bit of hard is getting it run externally and behind a proxy and all the other things.
Exactly.
It's not too hard because it's a parallel. It's just like putting an app server behind a web server because guess what? It is an app server running behind a web server.
But then we start talking about very, very serious security problems occurring, right? Because if you're running agent or MCP or whatever locally, let's say you're doing something in Kubernetes cluster, you're doing it all with kube control, the kube config that I gave you. And that kube config can operate only in that namespace. But now, once we start running it at organizational level, which is happening or will be happening soon, there is zero doubt about that, then that becomes a very different story. Because that agent needs to have admin permission because everybody's attacking it at the same time while still maintaining level of security depending on who is using it, when it's using it, and so on and so forth, right?
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. That's going to be critical in upcoming days, weeks, months.
Hours, maybe.
Maybe
hours. Maybe hours. So
by the time we finish this, there will be this recording. There will be a solution.
Exactly. Now you speak solution. Halfway joking, halfway not. You've open sourced a project. How do you name it? How do you say its name?
Oh, the short version is .ai. The long version is DevOps AI Toolkit. And the name came because I'm too lazy to come up with a name. I've been only using DOT as a short for DevOps Toolkit, and I just slapped AI over there.
So it's
a
actually
playground.
dot AI, right? It's
dot. How many? Whatever number of dots you want.
it's DOT dot AI.
Yeah.
You can find this out on Victor's GitHub. I'll link up to it.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of it? And there's also a YouTube video I'll try to remember to link also down below.
So I want to prove, and I'm not there, just to be clear. I want to prove that it can all be configured and set up in a way that when a person comes and says, deploy an application, or give me a database, or I want a cluster, or whatever, that will be done reliably, safely, following company's best practices, all the shenanigans, kind of like that. You can trust it completely, or almost completely. I'm not there yet, just to be clear, but I've been going through different phases and trying to solve one problem after another. I'm not even sure whether the project will survive. I might throw it to the trash once I figure it all out. No, now I know, right? It's my playground, but that's the mission. I want AI to be capable of doing the right thing, and you being incapable of making it do the wrong thing.
That seems like a reasonable goal to have for any software that we write. We want it to do the right thing and make sure that we can't mess it up.
Yeah, I'm not even, to be honest, I did not even start with the mess it up part. Most of the time I've been focused on doing the right thing, which might sound silly, but it's actually extremely complicated. Cloud Sonnet knows everything about everything, cool, but it knows nothing about my cluster. It cannot scan my cluster all the time. There are silly problems like, imagine that I have a crossplane composition called SQL that manages PostgreSQL in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and what's not, right? Can I instruct the AI out of the box? Imagine, we just cloud code. Hey, you're connected to the cluster. Create a database. Create a database in Azure. It will never even consider that composition I mentioned before. It will look at it and says, oh, there is something called SQL, kind of like that, has no relation with Azure.
Even though that is the right thing that you wanted it to do.
Yeah, it's definitely the right thing. And if I could force it to dig deep into it and check the schema and completely analyze it from top to bottom, it would come to the same conclusion. That's the right thing to do. But then, checking the schema for 1,000 different resources, that takes, an hour every single time? And it will still probably not find it. Or it will find too many, and then it will not know which ones to use. On top of that, still doesn't understand the patterns and best practices whatsoever. But I'm not talking much about it because it's really just a playground.
But since it is a playground, that's actually good for people that are wanting to just have a playground too.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very cool. So just being cautious, kind of don't use it in production, please. Kind of like if you want to see kind of where we might be going and the direction and stuff like that, I think it's useful to check it out. Just don't use it in production. No SLO behind it.
No, it's MIT licensed. It's just don't use it in production. Let me rephrase that one more time, or restate that. Don't use it in production. Could it turn into production at some point? Who knows? I think that's the only thing you could say.
Most likely not, but almost certainly not. But I see blueprints that might be taken out and then converted into real products.
Okay, so blueprints, concepts. So
yeah,
exactly. The concept to me that I'm really living on right now is having prompts served from MCP servers.
Yeah.
That way, if you're doing large scale refactoring, you got a couple of people that are working on it, or you have multiple agents working on it. Having those people or those agents use the same prompts to go through a mass refactoring is useful. And that is where you would not want to have a local MCP server running on each of the things. That would be just silly to keep maintained. Whereas if it's just, you've got it wired up to an external HTTP endpoint, then it's easy. One small thing on at least Cloud Code, if you are using that, once you start up Cloud Code and you've got it wired up to hit an MCP server and it's pulling in prompts, it does all that great. But if you update the prompts on your MCP server, Cloud Code will not reload those until you shut down Cloud Code and bring it back up.
Yeah, that's correct.
Today, the way we're at the time of recording, that's the way it works. And I imagine that's true for all the others as well.
Yeah, they're all loaded. So the way it works in general, and this is actually not related to prompts from MCP. The same what you just said is equally valid for slash commands or cursor rules, right? You change them, they're not taken into the effect until you restart it. And that's because when a session starts, at least a new session, MCPs and commands and what's not are loaded into memory so that it knows what to do with them, especially MCPs, because basically, when you use some MCP and say, oh, create an application in Kubernetes, the reason why agent uses MCP is because that MCP, when it has a description, it says, hey, whenever you want to do something in Kubernetes, use me. Me. And that's loaded at startup. It's almost like a part of the system context.
So to recap real quick, from an infrastructure standpoint, if somebody's just getting started as an individual today, good machine, a good agent, Cloud Code, Cursor, take your pick. There's others out there. And a good internet connection and some money to throw at a subscription to Cursor or Claude or somebody else.
I think that there are very few things that I feel that I can recommend as a no-brainer in terms of expense. And I think that current model subscriptions are a no-brainer. $200 a month for whichever is planned on Anthropic is a steal compared to what you're getting out of it. Not when I say what you get out of it, I don't mean in terms of tokens or stuff like that. Kind of how much value you get back. And I don't think that I ever said that $200 a month on a company level per person or individual level is a steal. I don't think I ever said that. Yeah, but I'm saying it now. It's cheap.
It's still not what I want to pay, so I'm still holding off. I still have the $200 a year, but I hit limits. I get put into timeout every day, which is okay because that gives me a chance to go do something else.
Now, as an individual, I think that might be too high of a price. But now, what I was saying before, as a person, you're working 8 hours a day in a company. Company paying those $200, it's a steal.
Do the math. If it's $200 a month for a person, and you're working on average $20 a day, 20 days a month.
Yep.
That's $10 a day. So instead of me bringing in lunch for everybody, I get them a Claude subscription.
Exactly.
And they can go buy their own lunch.
Coffees per person, right? It's 2 coffees.
It's 2 coffees per person.
Depends on the country and stuff like that. But in the States, it's 2 coffees, right? 1 Starbucks.
one Starbucks.
There
probably, yeah. So that's the hard thing for me. It's like, okay, even as an individual working for a company, it's hard to not just want to pay for it out of my own pocket because of the actual performance value that I get out of it. It's like I want to pay for it. I just can't do it right now. But I'm okay paying $200 a year because I'm not sitting on it 24 hours a day. If I was coding a full 8 hours a day, it would be absolutely worth it to me.
Yeah. My previous comment was based on, you're using it 8 hours a day. In that scenario, it's a steal.
You might disagree, and that's okay.
Especially if you look at what's happening right now. The GPT-5 models are like 5 times cheaper.
Right.
Prices are going down.
So as the prices go down, things may get better, or we may not have as many. Of course, they're trying to also recoup, probably because of the bad actors that have been using a little too much.
Yep.
So what do you think? Are you all in on AI? Are you toes in? Are you pretty much set up that basic infrastructure? You got a good machine, not a great machine, but a good machine. You got a subscription to something, Claude, Cursor, whatever, and something to work on. I think that's the baseline that you're going to need for these next months. I was going to say years, but I don't think that matters anymore. I think it's months. I think you've got to either get on board, figure out how it works for you, or not. And then that's okay too. It's your choice. Head over to the Slack workspace, look for episode number 319 in the podcast channel, and leave your comments there.
We hope this episode was helpful to you. If you want to discuss it or ask a question, please reach out to us. Our contact information and a link to the Slack workspace are at devopsparadox.com/contact. If you subscribe through Apple Podcast, be sure to leave us a review there. That helps other people discover this podcast. Go sign up right now at devopsparadox.com to receive an email whenever we drop the latest episode. Thank you for listening to DevOps Paradox.